Versa best company.
Versa business system.
It's a better
Versa business system.
Versa business system.
Shine.
Welcome to the Versa Business Tips Podcast. I'm your host, founder, and CEO of Versa Business Systems, Shaheen Mazloom. We're here with a very interesting guest today, Chris Papst, the author of Failure Factory. He's also an investigative reporter at Fox 45. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Very cool, man. Excited to have you here today, Chris. You know, there's so many things that we could talk about, but we'll try and keep the time down.
Yeah. Well, I really
Thanks for hopping on, brother.
I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Definitely, man. Definitely. So for those out there that don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself and what your book is all about.
So as you mentioned, I'm an investigative reporter for Fox 45 News, and I work on a team called Project Baltimore. And what we are is that we're an investigative unit of 5 people. There's 2 photographer editors, 2 producers, and myself, and I'm the reporter. Okay. And we launched in January of 2017. And when we launched, the idea was that we were going to focus on one topic. And this was really an initiative from our parent company, Sinclair Broadcast Group, which is also based in Baltimore, where we were going to see if this would be a successful journalistic experiment on a local level, that we would focus on one issue. So starting in January of 2017, we decided that one issue was going to be public education, specifically Baltimore City Public Schools. And the reason we chose this was because we could see in 2017 through federal data that Baltimore City was one of the most funded, but yet one of the lowest performing large school systems in America.
Wow.
And 8 years later, in 2025, I wrote my book, Failure Factory, How Baltimore City Public Schools Deprive Taxpayers and Students of a Future, because 8 years later, it is still one of the most funded, but one of the lowest performing large school systems in America. So what this book really does is that it's a journalistic endeavor to answer the question, why is this happening?
Right.
How is this happening? and why is it tolerated? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, 100%, man. Like I think, nowadays there's so many things that are just not being tolerated anymore, right? Like when we turn on the news, all the stuff going on in Minnesota with the daycares and the, stuff going on with ICE and people want answers, right? Like people are tired of they want to understand, why is this stuff happening? And they're tired of it happening. They want it to stop, right? So it's funny. I said something on Facebook the other day. How many of the last 5 mayors of Baltimore City have either done jail time or will do jail time?
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Right? Like it's just crazy. So when you have mayors that are breaking the law for their own gain, is that where this money is going for the public school systems, into the pockets of the politicians, or like what? What have you found that's where's this money going? Because it's not going to education, right?
Sure. So when I started Project Baltimore in 2017, I was working as an investigative reporter for the ABC News affiliate in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And I had developed a pretty good reputation as an investigative journalist. And when I came to Baltimore, a lot of people had said to me, look, Chris, if you're really going to dig into this topic, what you're going to find is that the public education system, specifically in places like Baltimore, but all around the country, no longer prioritize the education of students. Right. They prioritize the acquisition of funding. And then they use that funding to hire more adults that grows the political power and influence of the public education sector.
Right.
So in 2017, I didn't believe
now
it.
real quick, I don't mean to interrupt you. Is the funding based on the stats?
Funding is
like
based
their
on
pass
enrollment.
fail? It's
No.
on enrollment.
Funding is based on one issue and one issue only, enrollment. And it doesn't matter if that kid can read, doesn't matter if that kid can do addition or subtraction, none of that matters. The only thing that matters is the child enrolled? So that's going to lead me to my point here.
So everybody that thinks these tests matter and it's all about these tests, that's not it at all. It's enrollment.
Well, the tests matter, but if you're talking about what matters for funding,
for the funding, right?
Nope, doesn't matter at all. Your graduation rates don't matter. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is how many kids you have enrolled in your school.
Jesus.
So in 2017, when I came here, people said to me, "Listen, what you're going to find is that these school systems are not prioritizing the education of kids because, as we just talked about, you get the money without that. They prioritize the funding." Yeah. And, I didn't believe that because my dad was a public school teacher. I'm from Pennsylvania. He was a public school teacher for 35 years in the teachers union. Me and my brother went to public schools K through 12. So in 2017, I didn't believe it at all.
Right. But you're not going to buy there's no way. There's no way that that's allowed to happen, right?
Correct. But the reason I wrote Failure Factory is because after doing this for 8 and now 9 years, I do now believe that it's true. Right. I think if you look at the data, you look at the numbers, you listen to the parents and the students and the teachers and the administrators that I talk to in Failure Factory that I interview, I think it becomes clear that the focus of these school systems is not to educate kids. It's to acquire funding and then to use that funding to hire the adults.
Wow. So now... So I guess from an outside looking in, why would a teacher care about the funding? Because that funding's not going to help. I mean, they'll get their paycheck still as long as the funding keeps coming in. But why do they care that if that funding is increased or what does it matter to them? I guess is what I'm not understanding.
Well, it's not the teachers; it's the administrators.
Okay.
So when you
that are calling the shots as far as what exactly?
Correct. So the teachers, the school systems are really, they're broken up into different fractions. So you have central office, you have all the administrators in central office, and then you have the administrators that are inside of the school buildings, and then you have, the teachers.
Right.
And, from the perspective of what this book really covers is that what we're seeing in our schools is that we're seeing grade changing on a mass scale. And I don't mean changing a B to an A or a C to a B. I mean taking a failing grade because a student did not do the work and changing that to a D to pass the kid. And in our investigation in Failure Factory, if you read it, of the 8 years that this book covers, 5 of those years is a grade-changing investigation that we had done, where we had teachers that were coming to us saying, our grades are being changed. We are failing students. I shouldn't say it put it that way.
So it's not the teachers changing the grades.
Correct.
The administrators.
So a student earns a failing grade. Right. And a teacher, I interview a teacher in this book who was a high school Spanish teacher. Right. And there were students in her class that earned a failing grade. Right. And a couple of weeks later, they walked across the stage and earned a high school diploma. Right. And Spanish would be a required course to graduate in Maryland. Right. And the teacher's like, how did these kids graduate? They failed my class. And the answer is that an administrator would go into the grade book and change the grade from failing to passing. And this is happening from kindergarten all the way up until 12th grade. And we document it heavily in this book, how it's a major problem in Baltimore City Public Schools. And it's happening throughout the entire country because what we're seeing is massive amounts of additional funding that's getting put into public education. Right. And there needs to be something to show for that.
Right. Like you're getting less people that can read and write. Correct. You're getting less people graduating. when it comes to public education, we're getting worse and worse, but the funding is increasing.
Correct. So we can talk about some numbers here real fast, and I can
Yeah.
get through this, but these numbers are so important. And in 2017, when this book begins, Baltimore City Public Schools had a $1.3 billion budget. In 2024, which is 8 school years later, because you got to count 2017 as that first school year,
Right.
Baltimore City Schools had a $1.7 billion budget. So the school system got a $400 million a year increase in funding, comes out to over 30%. Well, how did the students do? The adults
Right.
did really well. The adults were making a lot more money, and the school system hired a lot more adults. But how'd the kids do?
Right.
Well, in 2017, 70% of the graduation rate in Baltimore City was 70%, which was the lowest in the state of Maryland by far. In 2024, the graduation rate was 70%. It didn't change.
It didn't change at all. It went up by 400 million.
Yep.
They got more adults, more
Yep.
teachers, more help. And
Well, that's the thing. Hold on, we're going to get to that in a second. So they didn't get more teachers. They had 400 million additional dollars come into the school system, and they didn't hire teachers.
what did
They hired the no additional teachers were hired. And so really what Failure Factory does is that I really,
What?
and no, it's stunning. So I take you kind of like through all these numbers, and I go year by year from
Right.
2017 school year up until 2024. And I show you how the money is coming in, where the money is going, how it's being allocated, the raises that certain people in the school system are getting.
Right.
And in 2017, the school system, according to the Maryland State Department of Education, had 5,149 teachers. In 2024, with a 30% increase in funding, the school system had 5,149 teachers. They didn't hire any additional teachers.
That's
Think
crazy.
about that for a second.
So what
Think
are they
about that.
hiring?
Well, they hired 1,300 additional employees that work for the school system. Many of them were director level positions, C-suite, central office, things like that.
What?
The money isn't getting to the classroom. And I can prove it. So we talked about
insane.
how in 2024, 70%.
1,300 in Baltimore City public school system.
No, 1,300 additional.
Additional, right?
Yes.
That
Yeah.
is, wow.
Yeah. So they're around like 10,000 employees that work for Baltimore City Public Schools. So
Oh my
in
God.
2024, the school system had a 70% graduation rate, as we talked about.
Right.
The math proficiency rate throughout the entire district was 10%. 10%. 90% of the kids are not proficient in math. But
Like in basic math.
grade level math, yeah, they're not proficient at grade level. Yeah.
Oh my
So
gosh.
how do you have 70% of your kids graduating, but
Right.
10%
But
of your
10%
kids
of them can do math.
are proficient in math? And the answer to that is what we just talked about, because the emphasis, the priority
Right.
is not
It's on
educating the
funding.
kids, it's
Right.
acquiring the funding.
Yeah, it's acquiring funding to hire more people in the C-suite to make more money and say you did something.
Yeah, according to
That's
the U.S.
insane.
Census, Baltimore City has some of the highest per pupil spending on administrative costs. So you can
Right.
see that the dollars are not getting to the kids.
Right. I mean, it makes sense. It's just how Baltimore City does things, right? Like the mayor just got a $170,000 Jeep. Where
Yeah,
does
did you
that?
see that?
Yeah, like where do you even find a $170,000 Jeep?
You got to
Is it
try
like
hard.
gold stitching? Like
Well,
what?
I think you're right. So he has, from the reporting that I saw that Fox 45 did, is that he has the most expensive chief executive vehicle, more than the
Yeah.
governor,
Yeah,
in the entire
in
state.
the entire state.
But again, that's really what we're seeing in Baltimore City Public Schools. We're seeing the same mindset where the
It's
adults are
crazy.
taking care of themselves,
Yeah.
but it's the students that are
Right.
the ones that are being disadvantaged.
Yeah, it's because it's starting at the top, right? Like, as a leader, if you are doing a certain thing and you're focusing on a certain thing, right, it's going to just trickle down, right?
Yeah.
Like if we keep having these mayors that all they care about is lining their pockets and driving fancy vehicles, etc., what do you think the people below them in the school system and the healthcare system and this, that, and the other, what do you think they're going to do? The exact same thing.
That's
Right?
that's what we're seeing. That's what we're largely seeing in the school system.
Yeah.
Is that you get $400 million additional dollars that are going into this school system,
And nothing's changed.
but you don't
with the
hire any
education.
additional teachers. It's a school system.
It's
Like,
insane.
you would think
'Cause
that all
they're
you
already right.
Yeah.
They're already complaining how there's too many kids per teacher, and
Yeah.
that's why they say people aren't learning. Right? There's too many kids per classroom. We can't teach like this. Da da da. You got an extra $400 million, but you didn't hire any more teachers. Right?
Yeah.
Now, some of our viewers and listeners, well, most of them are entrepreneurs and business owners. Let's talk about how this is going to affect businesses in Baltimore City and the surrounding areas over the next 5-10 years.
Well, the students simply are not getting the skills that they need to be able to go into the workforce when they come out of high school.
Exactly.
If you're graduating 70% of your kids and 10% of them are testing proficient in math throughout the district, then you're graduating kids that aren't ready.
Right.
And that is doing such harm. And one of the main reasons that I wrote Failure Factory is because I see Baltimore City as being at the end stages of what happens to a society when there's a failing public education system. And I know that you live in Maryland. Yeah. And Baltimore's a struggling city, man. It's a really struggling city. Every single year, it's named one of the most dangerous, deadliest cities, not just in America, but in the Western Hemisphere.
Right.
You drive through the city, you see all the blighted structures, population loss, people are getting out, decay. 20 to 25% of the people live in poverty. And what I argue in Failure Factory is that those things are not the problem. Those things are a symptom of the problem.
Exactly.
The problem is 10% of the kids in that school system are proficient in math. That's the problem. Yeah. And if you can solve that problem, you solve the other problems.
Yep.
So
I agree wholeheartedly. Everything starts with education. If we're educated enough, right? Enough, just enough. That's all we're asking. Educate our kids enough to be able to succeed once they get out of high school. Don't pass them and pat them on the back, because that's not going to do anything for them. Right?
Well, that's why Failure Factory, I feel, is important. And I wrote the book, and I hope that people pick it up and read it and really see what's happening in these schools.
Right.
The testimony from the parents and the teachers and the students that I talk to in this book, the way I show you how the money is being spent, how data is being manipulated to make the schools appear safer or more successful than they really are. We can't allow this to happen. I know a lot of people in the time that I've been here have been saying that what's happening in Baltimore County mirrors what has already happened in Baltimore City as far as the school system. And it can stop. It's correctable. And I really hope that Failure Factory can cause some good and convince people that fighting for the public school system is the right thing to do. Because the answers are there. The solutions are there. We just have to do it.
Right. 100%. So, you've presented some really mind-blowing stuff. Out of all your investigative work, and you've gone through all of this with the public school systems in Baltimore City, what's the craziest thing you think that you've come across, as far as whether it be a statistic or something that you saw, or what's happening in the school system? What do you think is the craziest thing you've seen?
That's a good question, man. There's a lot of things that really blow my mind.
Right.
So one of the things that I'll say that was really crazy when we had done it was Baltimore City Schools about 15 years ago decided that it wasn't going to hold kids accountable anymore for their actions. And essentially, it was saying that too many kids are getting arrested in school. And I have all the data in Failure Factory, and I lay all this out for everybody to see. And this is Maryland State Department of Education data. I think the year was 2008, 2009.
Okay.
That Baltimore City Schools had about 900 arrests. So these are
900
not
arrests in the
in
school.
school. Kids
Right.
being arrested in
At
school
school.
for
Right.
weapons, fighting,
Right.
all these things.
Right.
By 2019, the year before COVID, it was down to 18. They went from 900 arrests to 18, a 98% drop in arrests. So why did this happen?
Because
It
they're
didn't
not holding
happen
them
because the kids were
accountable.
acting any differently.
No.
It happened because the adults decided that they were going
Let
to
them.
respond. Exactly. They're going to
Yeah.
respond differently.
Yeah.
So what the school system did was they just simply quit arresting kids.
Yep.
And what that did was that corresponded with a lot of things that you saw in the city with a significant increase in crime.
Yep.
Because the kids were being taught
massive increase. Like for those that aren't in Baltimore or
Yeah.
in the surrounding areas, I don't think people really understand the amount of crime done by under 18-year-olds running through malls, rioting and beating people senselessly for no reason, shooting guns. I mean, it's like the Wild West. Right.
Well, it was also at that time that Baltimore was up in the 350 range for murders a year.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And the school
there's
system just said, you know what? We have this school to prison pipeline, and we're not going to feed it anymore. So we're just not going to arrest kids.
Right.
And what that ended up doing is that it kept the problematic kids in the schools. It kept the kids that disrupt learning in the school. And what you saw academic outcomes throughout the city go down. Yeah. And the other thing that you saw that we document in Failure Factory is that as the school started just not to arrest kids anymore, what you saw going up were instances of bullying because you kept these kids that were disruptive in the school to bully the other kids. And I'll just make this last point, and this is really what I think it comes back to. Is the reason that the school system decided not to arrest kids anymore is because they had said that we're arresting too many young black males, too many young minority males. That was the reason that they wanted to lower the arrests. But Baltimore City Schools is 93% minority.
Right.
And when you saw the bullying rates drastically increase, who do you think the victims were of the bullying?
Right.
Minorities.
Yep.
So what the school system actually ended up doing was it hurt more minority students by making them the victims of bullying. It hurt more minority kids than it presumed to have helped by not arresting them. And that's really what gets lost in all of this are the other good kids, the kids that are there trying to learn and now they can't.
Right. Right. And so even those kids that are trying to learn and really trying to get out of poverty and learn something and do something with their life, they can't learn because of all the disruption. And even they're ending up, they don't know math. They can't hardly read by the time they graduate. And, so even the ones that want to be there and they want to learn and they want to do good, they don't learn either. And it's not by choice, it's by disruption and these horrible calls that these administrators are making because all they care about is the funding.
Correct. Because if the funding is based on enrollment. So if you keep these kids enrolled.
Enrolled in the school, you're making more money.
You're making more money. Yep.
Unreal. It's crazy. So you mentioned about, not holding kids accountable to their actions, right? Not arresting kids. When, I have a niece and she's a minority. She's a young black woman. And when she was in high school, she started stealing. She was stealing from the stores and like doing stuff that she shouldn't be doing. And I would ask my sister, I'm like, oh man, was she arrested? No, they just let her go. And I would ask my niece, I'm like, how did the cops get called? Yeah, but they just said, don't do it again. And, goodbye. I'm like, wait, what? So like finding out that like this is happening, this was in New York City. So like kids can steal from a store, be asked not to do it again and told have a nice day. Like, so this isn't just in schools. This is happening out there, in everyday society, kids are breaking the law and being told, have a nice day. But even if it does end up in the court system, they're not being, they're not being held accountable anyway, because there's either, there's no bail and there's, probation, and they're just, it's just gotten, really bad from all the way from the start at the education level through the other side, right?
Well, if you're in a schoolhouse and you're acting out in a schoolhouse, I mean, think about that. 900 arrests to 18 over a 10-year period.
Imagine the amount of guns and drugs and stuff and fighting that's going on in these schools every day.
And now the school systems are just not reporting it.
900. How many school days are there in a year?
180.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. So you're talking about, 5 kids a day in Baltimore City schools that were getting arrested, back in 2008, 2009, and now it's one every 10 days.
Yeah. And now 5 doing things that should be arrested and aren't.
That's what we're hearing from the teachers, because the kids aren't, from what we're hearing, the interviews that I do with the teachers and administrators, because there are a lot of administrators that'll talk to me.
Right.
Not necessarily on the record, because they don't want to lose their jobs.
Right.
They make a lot of money.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of really good people in Baltimore City schools that,
I'm sure
that contact me and tell me what's going on, because they want to fix it.
They want to see change.
But they just don't want to lose their jobs.
Yep, which is totally understandable, right? Like, so the goal of your book, the goal of you being on this podcast and on other podcasts, is to get the information out so we can push for a change.
Correct. And where that push has to go is it's got to go to your school boards. It's got to go to your public officials, your elected officials. And we need to vote for people that are not just going to take our tax dollars and increasingly give more to public schools, but someone who's going to demand that those public schools improve and better educate our kids. And it's that second part in a lot of school systems like Baltimore City that's missing. They're getting the money. They're taking our money and they're getting the money, but the academic outcomes, that's what we're not seeing improve. Yeah. And we have to demand that they improve. And the school 100%. Systems can do it. There are examples of schools that are doing very good things, but you just have to break the status quo, the cookie cutter approach we have. But when you have so many people making so much money in that system, they don't want it to change.
Yeah, they don't want to hear it. Yeah, absolutely. So for those out, that are in the Maryland area, in the Baltimore City area, but also those that are outside of the area, in other parts of the country, what can, your average, everyday Joe do to try and help make a difference, or to push for change, or to even see if this is going on in their area? Sure.
Well, if you have kids, you got to be in the school. Right. The principal has to know that you're there. Teachers got to know that you're there. You have to be involved. You got to ask questions. You got to be a thorn in their side.
Right.
When it comes to school boards, a lot of people brush off school board votes. People think that the only vote that matters is the president. And school boards, I would argue, probably have more of an impact on your life than the president, because the school boards are impacting your home values, your taxes, your local business climate by educating the kids. You gotta have good people running for the school board. And what I mean by good people are people that simply are going to hold the school system accountable and say, you need to do a better job educating our kids, or you're not going to work here anymore. Yep. You got to have elected officials that are going to do the same thing. They got to hold the school system accountable, and they can't just give the school system a 35% increase over 8 years in funding, and then the graduation rate doesn't change and no one says anything. Right. Those are the things that have to change. You got to hold them accountable. Yeah. And that's just what we're not seeing in places like Baltimore.
Right. Yeah. It's all about accountability. 100%, man. Dude, Chris, I really appreciate you taking the time and hopping on and sharing all this information with us. It's mind-blowing and kind of scary at the same time, but I'm glad we had this conversation and we can get this information out to people and, hopefully make a change, man. I love what you're doing. Are you coming out with any other books, or what's kind of next steps for you?
Well, I mean, this one just came out couple months ago. So I'm
It's
going
just
around.
only been a couple months. Okay,
Yeah,
awesome,
this one
man.
just came out. So
Awesome.
I'm going around selling this one, but we're still doing Project Baltimore. We're still doing the public education reporting every single day in Baltimore, surrounding counties, and Maryland, doing a lot in Annapolis right now because it's the legislative session, the 90-day legislative session in Maryland. So this is what we do, man. We do this every single day, and the goal is to really educate people and educate communities on how their dollars are being spent, how their kids are being educated or not being educated, and try to make a positive impact. And that's why I wrote Failure Factory. And if people pick up a copy, please get a hold of me. I'm the easiest person in the world to get a hold of. I'm just Chris Papst, ChrisPapst on Twitter.
Awesome.
X,
yeah, we'll put the links to your social media. And do you have a website for the book?
ChrisPapst.com.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, we'll make sure we put that in the description of the podcast and the YouTube videos and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been a great discussion, and let's keep the conversation going.
Absolutely. Definitely, man. Appreciate you.